Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Miracle Network's Wednesday meditation gathering. I'm so glad you're all here to share this time together. This week we have Nick Arandes who will lead us in meditation. Then we have 20 minutes of silence. And after that, we'll open up for sharing. Over to you, Nick.
Okay, can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Just to make sure that I was on mute. Okay, first of all, thank you for this opportunity. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with paragraph 8, lesson 189 from the workbook, because the meditation is about allowing the experience and the presence of God to be, because sometimes the tendency is that I may do a meditation trying to experience God, trying to get to God, or something like that. And this paragraph is beautiful because he sets the tone, reminding us that I don't need to know how to get to him. He knows how to get to me. I need to get out of the way. So I'm going to read the paragraph first, say a couple of things, and we go into the meditation. Paragraph 8 of lesson 189, that states, is it not he who knows the way to you? You need not know the way to him. Your part is simply to allow all obstacles that you have interposed between the Son and God the Father to be quietly removed forever. God will do his part in joyful and immediate response. Ask and receive. But do not make demands nor point the road to God by which he should appear to you. The way to reach him is merely to let him be, for in that way is your reality proclaimed as well. Okay, so before we set the meditation tone, this is what I would like to share. Right now, who we are, our essence, beingness, is God. What is not allowing for that to be a experience, a permanent experience, is the belief that I am a body, that I am a separate individual. And every thought, every feelings, every experience, they actually are used to reinforce the belief that this is who I am. Let's say in the meditation, you have thoughts like, I have to do something in the kitchen, or my son or my daughter, whatever, or my parents or my family or my body, whatever. All these are thoughts that are merely passing clouds. However, these are the thoughts that are using constantly to keep reinforcing the belief that I am this individual, this body, this person. And because of that, I am not consciously aware that I am. That's what I refer to as God. I am. So we're going to rest in the I am, because this meditation is not going to be something that is going to take place for 20 minutes. This is going to be our life. We're going to be resting in the I amness, for that's what God is. And all we're going to do is observe the obstacles, thoughts that comes in that we want to interpret, feelings that come in that bring thoughts of fear or whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm always resting in the I am. So I'm going to lead you with this meditation. I'm going to use words to point to that recognition, which is what we are right here, right now, always. Having said that, we begin the meditation now. So I invite you, if you feel like, to close your eyes. It's not necessary, but it usually helps if it feels that you need to be centered in that space. We breathe calmly and we rest. We just simply rest. There's nothing to do with the mind. There's nothing to do with the thoughts. Just rest. Being. Okay? That's why it states, but do not make any demands. Just be. That beingness is presence. That beingness is. And I want you to rest in beingness. And that is for the sake of language, even though language is limiting, that is the closest to your actual experience being, of being God, being that which words cannot describe. It's impossible. We cannot talk about this. So I want you to rest in beingness right now and observe how immediately the mind tries to fill in that space because it fears its own demise. It fears its own disappearance. But in reality, nothing disappears in the same way that nothing appears because we just simply are. So as the thoughts may come up, they are appearing in beingness. And notice how immediately I look at a thought and I think that is my thought. You see, that's how I use the thought to keep holding on to the belief, which is the original cause that says, I am a person, I am a body. This is who I am. And that is the obstacle that is not allowing for the beingness to be recognized. And many things could be happening on the surface. You could be going through, you could be working, you could be talking to your family. Thoughts come up. You could be watching television. You could be in the middle of traffic. All these things are happenings or seeming happenings in beingness. And what you are is beingness. Not a body, not a person. And the mind will ask, but how do I relate to the world if I am resting in beingness? In reality, you are always resting in beingness. The thing is that you believe that you are the one relating to the world, but you are always beingness. There's a beautiful lesson in the course that says, God is in everything I see. And you may say, I don't see God. I mean, I see chairs, I see trees, I see people, I see my body, I see all this stuff. How could it be that God is in everything I see? It's not a very esoteric thing, it's a very truthful thing. So let's use this analogy. Imagine that you're in bed and you're dreaming. And all that there is your mind, right? There's nothing else, just your mind. In the dream, however, there are images. The image of a you that seems to be looking at things. And I would say to you in the dream, all that there is mind. There's nothing else. And you may say, no, I cannot see the mind. Where is the mind? I know it about it. I've read about it. But I don't feel there's such thing as a mind because I am seeing all the images in the dream. But in reality, all that there is mind because the images, even the you, is appearing within mind. That's why lessons begin with nothing I see means anything. It's kind of like withdrawing meaning to everything so that you can rest in the awareness that I am. And that's how God, it doesn't find you, there's not a you, but it's a limitation of language because you believe you are a you. That's how God finds himself or itself. And it doesn't find itself because it never lost itself, but because it appears that there's a son who's separate from the Father. Well, it appears that the son has to return to the Father, but the separation has never occurred. So right now, I want you to rest. That's it. Leave the mind alone. Let it do what it wants to do. Thoughts appears. That's fine. You still presence. Sensations appear. That's fine. You are still presence. And just rest. I'm going to use these words deliberately because these are words that they have a connotation according to the ego thought system, but in reality is where the course is pointing to. And the words are rest in peace. Rest in peace is not something that we place on a tombstone. Rest in peace is our natural state all the time, right here, right now, when the mind is not identified with its thoughts, with its meanings, with its experience. So when we put things in a tombstone, like rest in peace, is another way of saying, well, now he's no longer in the way. The mind is not in the way, because throughout his whole life, he was always in the mind, doing, fighting, avoiding, defending, pretending. You see, that's why they're not at peace. When it's time for their expiration date, then they said rest in peace. But in reality, what they're saying is that the mind is not in the way. Well, that's the experience that you can have right now until the time comes that the body is no longer here. Because the body was never here. It appears as if though it's here. And that's why we don't have to get concerned about trying to not see the body or anything. No, you keep experiencing the body, but with a mind that is tranquil. And that is the practicality of a teaching like A Course in Miracles. It's not about pretending that the world is an illusion. It doesn't serve us. It's not about pretending that I don't exist, that I'm not a body. No, that we know that, but that is not our experience. However, we can experience the peace that passes all understanding while there is a body, or while there seems to be a body, while it seems to be a world, while it seems to be that we're relating to our family, but now there's a different mentality, and that's the invitation that I'm suggesting here. This is what you're experiencing right now. As you hear my words or the words that are spoken, you are resting in peace. And all we're doing, as the Course in Miracles clearly states, we are here only to allow the obstacles to be removed. When you find yourself reacting to your family or your friend or a thought or whatever, now somewhere within, you know, I am not reacting to quote unquote them. I am reacting to the thoughts in my mind that I'm projecting onto them, because that's what I'm using to keep reinforcing the belief that I am a separate self. So we're going to use the world, the experience of separation, to bring back the awareness of what I am. And so whatever happens, why am I feeling this way? I don't know. Why the things are the way they are? I don't know. Why is my daughter, my son doing or not doing? I don't know. Why the government is doing or whatever? I don't know. Why is the world the way it is? I don't know. And it doesn't matter, because you are now resting in peace. And from that resting in peace, the mind is in a very space to be receptive to whatever love would do through your apparent body or whatever you want to call it, if something needs to be done. But we're resting in this space, and that is how we can experience God all the time. And that is the equivalent of of the Course here states, he knows the way to you. So I don't need to find a way to get to him or to it. I don't know how to get to God, because I am God, not as a body, not as a person. It's not something that I say. I'm simply making a statement of truth for everything, which includes all of us here. There's nothing that God is not. Like in the dream, when you're dreaming, there's nothing that the mind is not, even when the images in the dream seems to be the obstacles that overlook the fact that all that there is mind. So we're going to rest right now here in this space for the remaining of the meditation, observing the thoughts that happen, see how easy. And these thoughts are there to simply corroborate the false belief that I am who I think I am, a person. So the thoughts comes in, I'm resting in peace. Not that I as a person is resting in peace. This is why language is very limiting. But we're doing the best we can within its limitation. As the course states clearly, the miracle does nothing, simply observe and judges not. That's what we're doing, really. Resting in this space, that is the awareness of what we are. And now the body, the experience of human experience, the feelings, sensations, the world, situations, it's just basically a passing show that cannot affect the space of awareness in which we are now resting. That's all we need to do, quote unquote, do. So in reality, there's nothing to do, just be. So I invite you to just be for the remaining of this session.
open your eyes and come back into the room. We have 19 minutes left for sharing your reflections and your questions. If you'd like to speak, raise your hand, or you can use the chat function at the bottom of the screen for confidentiality, and I'll read it out. Who'd like to share?
I have a quick question. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Did you all get a chance to hear the whole meditation and everything until the end? Because a box pop up later that it says the host would like to unmute you. So I didn't know if I was muted or something like that without realizing. Or
I heard you all the way through, Nick. Everything was fine.
okay, perfect.
Who'd like to share? Linda.
Thank you, Nick, for that. I had an experience this morning, just before we came on here. I had loads of things to do, and all of a sudden, it came to me that it's all out there. There's nothing. I don't have to do this. There's no word. There was no words. But what you've said this morning has told me that what I need to do, I've already heard. I'm absolutely. I know I need to back off doing things for everyone. It was just, I've gone upstairs and I saw all this clothes. I need to put these away. No, you don't. There's only one thing you need to do, and that is rest in God. And everything will pan out peacefully. You don't have to do. Thank you so much. Oh, I was just so thrilled. That perfect timing. Thank you. There's no words to describe it, what I saw.
I know.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, Nick, I found it really helpful, your share this morning. I've been looking at I've been trying to be at peace, and I notice as I go through my day that my mind gets very busy, and these, it's jumping around, like all the things I have to do, and people I have to call, and all sorts of things. And it really helps just to see them as passing clouds, and just to return to peace, I am peace. So that it spoke to me. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Who'd like to share? Kirsty.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, that was really, really good for me, Nick, because the I am, which is something that I haven't really focused on very much since I've been doing Course in Miracles. It's not something I used to do it with other spiritual paths, but in the Course, I haven't been doing it very much. That particular focus, those two words, but for some reason, it's just coming up again and again and again for me. It came up on a Zoom on Sunday, and I just feel that this is what I need to be looking at. And what you gave us, which was, imagine that you're asleep in bed and you're not a body, you're just a mind. And when I did that, I had this sense of clarity, which is something that's Jesus says in the Course, you just need that little bit of willingness, that tiny bit of willingness. And I always think to myself, Oh, well, I'm willing. I'm really willing, but Jesus just won't take it off me. I'm willing, Jesus, to take it, to take it. But actually, what I really saw really clearly there was my own unwillingness. I don't, my unwillingness hides in plain sight. It's right there, but I don't see it. But I had this moment with Jesus where he was actually saying, give me that. It's a grievance I've got, a big lifetime grievance I've got towards someone. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And it was like a sense of, if I gave that over to Jesus, then who would I be without that grievance? And it's like giving over your identity, isn't it? It's giving over your let go of this grievance. For me, I saw it be like letting go of who I am and who would I be. And it was game over, really, for the ego. But I don't want to do it ultimately. I saw that really clearly. So hopefully, it's just a case of watching this unwillingness until it dissolves, maybe. I don't know what you say about that, Nick.
About the unwillingness?
Yeah, when I come up against my own unwillingness, I suddenly see it, it's there, it's unwillingness. Then what do you do? What is the best way to resolve that unwillingness?
You know what happens? The voice is kind of being muffled and I don't understand clearly the question. Got a feel for what you're saying, but try to repeat it again. See, maybe it's because it's a good question. It's just like when it gets muffled, I don't I missed, or if somebody understood clearly.
Can you hear me, Nick? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Yes. I saw my own unwillingness.
Okay.
That was what was blocking me from forgiveness. It was being unwilling. And when I come up against that bedrock of unwillingness, what would you say is the best spiritual practice to get beyond the unwillingness, to dissolve the unwillingness? Did you hear that?
Yeah. In the way I see it, when we're talking about the unwillingness, the question that I would ask is, who is this one who is unwilling? Who am I talking about? Am I talking about you? Because when I'm resting in presence, there's no willingness or unwillingness. It's just what is, right? It's just that when the mind identifies with the person, then it seems like I am willing or I am unwilling, but that keeps feeding the sense of identity that says I am a person. So in reality, I don't have any practices because in a sense, it's feeding the belief that I am this person who's now is trying a particular practice in order to have a particular experience, which in your case may be the experience of being willing. The invitation is to rest in what is, to rest in the awareness all the time as we are, and observe how the mind identifies with the person, with this I that I think I am. So in reality, it's like your willingness to, if I would say something that I think will be easier to grasp, is your desire for truth. Or let me use another word, your desire for peace. That's all you need to do. A true desire for peace implies the willingness, well, let me use that word, to allow things to be just as they are. You don't want to change anything. You don't want anything to be any different than what it is, because that is a judgment. You see, it's basically learning to look. As I wake up in the morning, the willingness is already there. And then life happens, you see? And all I'm observing is how I find myself judging. Good happens, when resentment comes up, and when you see it, just the fact that you're seeing it implies that there's willingness. You see, now the ego may say, well, I don't have I have an unwillingness because I'm still feeling it. No, that's part of what is coming out. If you were already completely free, you wouldn't be in a body, you wouldn't even be here. So while we're here, there's going to be all sorts of duality dynamics, but your willingness, it's already established by the fact that you're in it, even in a Zoom like this, for example, there's a willingness there. So don't let the mind trick you into, I am unwilling because I'm feeling this or I'm feeling that or resistance. No, we all have them, you know, but the invitation, that's what the Course allows us. The invitation is to be, and that's what it is. And in that desire for peace and real peace, honestly, which means that I allow things to be as they are. I don't want anything to be any different than it is. My life is perfectly according to a plan that I may not understand it right now, but I know that whatever is happening is the best thing that could ever happen. Sitting in there without trying to understand or analyzing anything is what is called looking. That's what is looking with Jesus. Otherwise, if I think this shouldn't be like this, or I want this to be different, I am not looking, I am judging. I made a judgment. So all we can do is what we just, in your case, to answer to your question or how I see it, is just being willing to say, Holy Spirit, I have no clue how to do any of this. It doesn't matter, but I know that you're there for me. So I am willing to listen to you. And the way I will do so is by, I will not, as the Course says over here, do not make demands nor point the road to God by which he should appear to you. It's just trust, the willingness of, the willingness of just being. And that's it. If you ask me how I live my life, it's like that. I have all the challenges that everybody has, but the difference is that I live in a state of acceptance. That's, to me, is the willingness, I don't see any resistance to it. And when I see thoughts that are not really kind that can come up, that doesn't mean that I'm being unwilling. It just means that that's the obstacles that are coming up to be seen. And just be, and that's it. And don't put labels on willingness, am I whatever, because that's the mind trying to hold on to its sense of identity. It's trying to hold on to the sense of you, of this person. And that's it. You rest in that space, and that's it. And then just observe how the Holy Spirit undo the unconscious guilt. That's why I always quote from chapter 4, section 1, paragraph 7 paragraph 4 and statement number 7 that says, if you're willing to renounce to be the guardian of your thought system and offer it to me, I will correct it very gently and lead you back to God. In other words, if I am willing to know that I know not, if I'm just being, then the correction is already taking place by that which is the translator between the voice of God and you. So that's all you need to do, quote unquote, which is really nothing. So that's it. Don't judge yourself for thinking you're being unwilling because you're feeling this way or feeling that way. Just the human experience. It's the script that you're living. But right now, you are being invited to just let go, to rest, and that's it. And that is the willingness. Or at least that's how I see it. Did that answer your question or help you? I hope.
Yeah, that I have to say to you, Nick, that was probably the most coherent explanation of what it means to do with Jesus that I've ever heard. Unbelievably helpful. Thank you so much for that. Really helpful.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, who'd like to share? Raise your hand. Jim, take yourself off mute.
Yes, thank you, Darren, and thank you, Nick. That was wonderful. What came to mind at the end of that meditation was the story of Martha and Mary in the Bible. where Jesus speaks about Martha being mindful of many things, and Mary choosing that one good part. And it's just a reminder that, which I often forget, but it's a useful reminder that the only thing we ever have to do is be present. Everything else will take care of itself. Because my mind runs away as well with things I've got to do. But if I'm simply present each moment, well, everything I need to do will get done. And it just came to mind at the end of your meditation, which was very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, there's something in chat which I'll read out. How can we look at the situation in Palestine and not want anything to be different?
Got it. It's a question that has perfect logic from the ego thought system that believes in the world of separation, right? Someone asked Ramana Maharshi about this, about the things in the world. Says, what should we do about the world and everything? Ramana Maharshi said, you work on yourself and let God take care of his own creations. That doesn't differ from what the Course in Miracles state when it says, seek not to change the world, but to change your mind about the world. Okay, because as one of the lessons states, the world doesn't exist. That is the main teaching this course is trying to teach. Now, that doesn't mean we're sitting in denial saying nothing is happening, because that is still believing in the world, but now just kind of sugarcoating it with some sort of spiritual mumbo jumbo. No. You see or you perceive things happening in the world. Okay, now we don't have to talk about Palestine. You can look at your own neighbor. I mean, you can even look at your own experience, right? So obviously that's the experience of duality, separation, and that's what it is. These are the images you're seeing. The question is not to bring the attention outside, which is exactly what the ego thought system is attempting to do, is uses the images of the world, like the body or whatever, to keep the attention where the problem is not, as the course states. So the first thing you need to do is, how are you reacting to that? Because the way you're reacting to that is what is already establishing who have you chosen as your teacher. If you have chosen the ego as your teacher, you will react to everything in the world and you will ask questions like that because the attention wants to be put on the dream. If, on the other hand, you choose the Holy Spirit thought system, the first thing is going to happen is that you will no longer see or interpret things as the mind would do so. You will only know that love is all there is, God is everywhere, mind is all there is, and what you're seeing in those scenarios is what is referred to as a call for love. It's a part of you that wants to be reminded that none of that is true. So when you find yourself reacting to anything in the dream, you bring it back again. We can go back to lesson chapter 14, section 11, paragraph 6, from 6 to 10, that says, when your peace is disturbed or whatever, in any shape or form, remember, simply do this. I do not know the meaning of anything, including this. I do not know how to respond to it, and I will not allow my past to be the light to guide me now. It's a way of saying I will not allow my interpretations, the memory and everything, to be the guide in this particular experience. Yes, things are happening everywhere. You talk about Palestine, but I'll guarantee you there's many other things happening you don't see in the news. But that is part of the world of perception. And that's what the Course states very clearly in the preface. Says, when you get caught up in the world of perception, you're caught in a dream. You cannot escape without help, because everything your senses shows, they give validity to that dream. You see? So your question, well, every question actually, if you think about it, comes from that space of idea of separation, right? Is the mind trying to ask questions, thinking that if I get an answer, something will be resolved. But in reality, if I get an answer, it keeps feeding the same mind that asked the question to keep holding on to the belief in separation. That's what the Course clearly states. Every answer that the world gives just brings another question, leaving the first one without answering. So the question you ask is a sort of distraction to try to take you away from the work of we're doing here, so you can go back again and put the attention out into the world, which reinforces back again the belief in a world, which reinforces back again the belief that you are that person. You see, that's what's being undone. So the answer to any question about the world is, I don't know. But the answer, according to the Holy Spirit, is bring back yourself to this space so you never forget who you are. And within the dream, if something needs to be done about it, that'll be a natural expression of the love through you, but it's not going to be an expression that comes from a place of judgment or fear. It'll be a natural reaction if that's what's to happen. Because if we were to look at it, if I were to look at it, let's say on a much global scale, from the appearance of every single part of the same dream, nothing is happening that cannot be the will of the divine plan of God. So for me to say those things are bad or whatever, I'm making a judgment of something that is happening, which it seems to be happening, which means that God must have made a mistake, assuming that could be another will than God. You see? So if you look at in the manual for teachers, no encounter is by accident. Therefore, whatever is happening there, it also is part of the divine plan, however the case may be. Those who seems to be the victimizers and those who seems to be the victims, they are there according to the script. You see, my purpose, if anything, is to hold the light, Otherwise, if I find myself judging those things, I am now identified with the ego thought system. You see, that's why Jesus was never moved by anything, because he knew who he was. He was the mirror, and he is the mirror that tells us who I am is who you are. But in order for you to be able to experience who you are and use me as your teacher, you have to listen to me. You see, let the world alone. Seek not to change the world. Seek to change your mind about it, meaning seek to bring your attention inward. Forget about those questions that all they're doing is distracting you and bringing your attention back again into the illusion, and I will take care of your awakening. Because in the end, what it's awakening is that which is dreaming this whole thing, and it's doing it through each and every one of its parts. So what is happening in the world? Well, this is the world of duality. You see, the world of truth, there's no duality, it's only love. But the world of the human experience has oppositions. That's how that's what it is. So now you're learning to bring your attention back to this space. Rest there and don't let your mind with all these questions confuse you, because all you're going to do is bring your attention outward again, and you're going to get into a mind-mind conversation, which the ego loves, because that's what the ego wants. The ego wants you to engage the mind, because that is what it uses to hold on to its sense of identity. Rest in here and trust that whatever is happening has to be part of the divine God's plan. You focus on your own forgiveness, so can you awaken, as the Course in Miracles states, the atonement is for yourself and for nobody else. You just keep doing that, and don't let those questions distract you. They won't lead you nowhere.
Okay, we've come to the end of our time together. Thank you, Nick. That was wonderful. And take yourself off mute. Show your appreciation to Nick.
Thank you,
you.
Nick.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nick.
Thank you.